Galnet News Digest, 29th of January 3305. We read the news so you don't have to. In this week's news, one empire and a lot of blood. More Imperial bloodletting. Hippy has a hissy fit. One empire and a lot of blood. The will of the Emperor was enacted with ruthless efficiency on Friday. The Emperor had ordered all senators to be present at a hearing to discuss the fate of the de facto leader of the attempted coup, Duke Kaiso Mordanticus, the self-styled Imperator. The traitor Imperator Mordanticus was led into a full Senate house, in shackles. Far from displaying any form of remorse, he stood in the middle of the chamber with his head held high, defiant in the face of his accusers. Many of those who'd spoken out in favour of Nova Imperium were also present, but none of them made any sign of recognition to Mordanticus. 2 lines of Imperial guards filed into the Senate chamber and deployed around the edge of the central floor space. It was not at that stage clear what role they'd play. The room rose to its feet as Emperor Arissa Lavigny Duval entered the chamber through the vast double doors at the head of the room that are reserved for her use. With her was her trusted deputy, Admiral of the Fleet and Senator of Eotienses, Denton Patreus, walking 1 pace behind the Emperor as is customary. The room fell silent as they walked noiselessly forward together towards the prisoner in the middle of the room. The Emperor stopped in front of Mordanticus and looked him straight in the face. As Mordanticus returned the Emperor's stare with his chin held high, Patreus unhurriedly drew his sidearm, held it against Mordanticus's head, and pulled the trigger. Mordanticus's head jolted slightly. There was a brief pause as reality adjusted itself, and then he crumpled to the floor. No one moved, stunned by this summary justice, except for the Imperial Guard. At the sound of Patreus's sidearm, they had quietly shouldered their weapons, and they now started firing into the assembled senators, not randomly, but taking aim carefully, shooting again and again into the panicking crowd. When they stopped firing, several dozen senators lay dead. Among their number were Senators Paul Vespasian and Eloise Winterston, both of whom had spoken up in favour of Nova Imperium. It's believed, but not yet confirmed, that all of the dead had been campaigning for the downfall of the Emperor, as part of, or on behalf of, Nova Imperium. When the remaining senators calmed down, the Emperor declared in a steady, clear voice, "There is no Nova Imperium. There is only the Empire." More Imperial bloodletting. The same day as the execution of Mordanticus, there were mass arrests and executions across capital and elsewhere. It appears that Senator Patreus had infiltrated Nova Imperium, and when it came, the action against the seditious group was swift and ruthless. The Federation and Alliance have made no comment about this internal Imperial matter, but they must be glad that the gathering threat of Nova Imperium has been lifted. Independent commanders who recently undertook work on behalf of Nova Imperium are believed to be at risk of summary execution by the Imperial Internal Security Service, and are advised to stay outside Empire space or face the consequences. Only the Parisa system remains in Nova Imperium control, but with the organisation leaderless, it can only be a matter of time before it is utterly crushed. There has been no word about the fate of the young pretender Hadrian Duval, who was the figurehead lending legitimacy to the attempt to unseat Emperor Lavigny Duval. When he's found, it seems unlikely that he can expect to live. Hippy has a hissy fit. The leader of the so-called Utopia commune has condemned the theft of the secret recipe for nanomedicines by medical startup Vitadine. Transcendental eco-warrior Simguru Pranav Antal criticised the Interstellar Health Authority for allowing the nanobot medicine to be sold for financial gain by big galactic pharma. Antal would far prefer that the nanomeds were completely unavailable outside Utopia, making everyone apart from his hippies equally sick and miserable. Vitadine has requested bids from federal and alliance pharmaceutical conglomerates to manufacture and distribute the disputed medicine, which has an alleged ability to heal injuries, cure diseases, and extend life by many decades. Imperator Mordanticus could probably have done with some of that life-preserving wonder drug on Friday. And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News, we read the news so you don't have to.